Hello and welcome to our doctors, health professionals, and everyone. So my name is Josie Tong. I'm your host for this webinar. I have a nursing background, but retired at 46 years old because of a massive burnout. I have been a recipient of medical intervention and chosen to go for the natural solutions. It has been my passion for the past 15 years. So get ready because today's webinar is going to shift your perspective. We're diving into activation, not just supplementation, into the science that helps the body do what it was designed to do, to heal, repair, and thrive. Our keynote speaker is a trailblazer in anti-aging and weight optimization. And he's here to share powerful, practical tools backed by cutting-edge science. You're about to discover why the future of health isn't more about treatment, but smarter activation. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Jeff Piccirillo. He is a board-certified orthopedic surgeon with deep expertise in regenerative medicine. Over the past 5 years, he has studied and practiced extensively in the fields of aesthetics, sexual health, weight loss, and anti-aging. As a trusted consultant with LifeVantage, Dr. Jeff has touched thousands of lives through in-person events, online webinars like this, and through his thriving regenerative medicine practice and med spa in Regent Ocala, Florida. His mission is clear: to help people reclaim their vitality, longevity, and true wellness by activating the body's own healing potential. But before I welcome Dr. Jeff Piccirillo, I just wanted to let you know that the products we're going to talk today about is not going to, we just know that it is going to work for your body, but just to say that it's not going to heal, mitigate diseases. But I'll get Dr. Jeff to explain that. So ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Dr. Jeff.
All right. So, Josie, it's so funny. Thanks. First of all, thanks everybody for coming on board. I was going to say tonight because it's about 9:00 p.m. on a Friday night here in Florida. And I know a lot of people on this call tonight. It's already Saturday morning over in Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines. So thank you for taking time out of your weekend and joining us here tonight. And, it always amazes me. And when I hear somebody introduce me, whether I'm on a Zoom call or I'm on the stage, it just seems so comical that they're talking about me. You don't look at yourself as having this long list of successful things that you've done in your life, but it's pretty amazing to hear the introductions that I get. And so thank you, Josie, for that. As I said, and I'll go ahead and get started with my screen here. Josie already took some of my thunder away that the presentation that we're talking about tonight. In America, we talk about the Food and Drug Administration, and these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration because they're considered food-type products. They're not developed to cure, treat, or mitigate any diseases. They are supplementation, or what we're going to talk about, the difference between supplementation and activation. These are what we refer to in LifeVantage as activation products, because we're activating the body to build hormones and build substances in the body that can really help our overall health, our overall wellness. We started talking a little bit before everybody got on. We were talking about one of the problems that I think is occurring in the world today is the fact that we do not really even have a healthcare system. In the United States, our system is broken. And if you go on to either my Facebook page, which is in the middle there, Get Activated with Dr. Jeff, or you go on my Instagram page, which is called the Dr. Jeff Effect, a lot of times I talk about why our healthcare system is broken and what we need to do as consumers to take control of our own healthcare system. And I know tonight we have a lot of healthcare providers on this call, and I'm excited to talk to you about what's come to me back in July when I joined LifeVantage. It was before they even announced the GLP-1 product. I got somebody whispered in my ear that it might be coming out, and that's kind of what pushed me to do this. This is me. So I started out as a board certified orthopedic surgeon. I practiced conventional orthopedic for about 30 years. 9 years ago, or no, more than that, 2009. So 16 years ago, I realized that I did not like the direction that the American healthcare system was going. I realized it when I found out that one of our big insurance carriers in the United States was paying me $875 to replace someone's knee. And I knew that there was a problem. I knew that I could not continue under that type of healthcare. And so I decided to go into anti-aging and regenerative medicine, where we would change people's health, we would change people's well-being, and get out from under the thumbs of the insurance companies. Back in July of last year, I joined LifeVantage, which is the activation company. And we need to talk a little bit about what activation is. And I think there's an important definition, and that's nutrigenomics. And nutrigenomics is a big study. Some of the wealthiest people in the world, including Bill Gates, have companies that are trying to work on nutrigenomics. So what is nutrigenomics? It's the scientific study of the interactions between nutrition and genes, especially regarding to the prevention of disease. So that means that what we put in our body can change what our body does for our health. And that's an important thing. And if you think about LifeVantage did that all the way back in 2005 with Protandim NRF2. So these companies that are working on it now, and these are people like Bill Gates and Elon Musk that have these companies that are looking at nutrigenomics, but have no products available yet. We have a whole line of activation products. So we beat these multi-billionaires to the punch of getting the first products available to the people of the world. So let's talk about what's the difference. And you heard me talk a little bit about, I'm going to go back and show this. So some of these products, if we look at some of the daily essentials and some of the vitamins and the eye care products, some of these are supplements. They are intended to just bring up things like vitamin D level or a magnesium level. But some of these are activators. When we look at the Protandim products and we look at the Mind Body products and we look at the liquid collagen products, these are all activators, completely different science than the science of supplementation. So what's the difference between supplementation and activation? So supplementation focuses on adding external nutrients to the body. So if somebody comes into your office, and where there's a lot of healthcare providers on here, somebody comes into one of my offices, I work with about 100 different practices around the US that all work with me, and I work as a mentor for a lot of them. And we get people that come in with a low vitamin D level. So we give them vitamin D. That's supplementation. It involves adding a vitamin or a mineral or a daily supplement to the body. And all it does is it fills in a gap. But it doesn't provide, it provides an immediate nutrient, but it does not address the root cause of the problem. It is just supplementing what the body has. That's the difference between that and activation. So what is activation? Activation is completely different. Activation focuses on stimulating the body's natural processes. It's the take it to make it. You take the building blocks, and your body takes those building blocks and is able to make something that is going to respond to better health and better wellness. It enhances the body's inherent ability to maintain its own health. So it's working, allowing your body to do the things that your body was made to do. The problem is we're getting bombarded from things from the outside. You heard me talk a little bit about oxidative stress. We're getting bombarded by that on a daily basis. So it downregulates a lot of our body's functions. That's where disease plays into effect. And this actually seeks to address the root cause of all problems. And if you heard me talk before we actually were officially on this call, you heard me talk that I think one of the biggest problems with healthcare worldwide, definitely a problem in the United States. I know I've talked to some healthcare providers in Australia. It's a problem everywhere. And the problem is doctors no longer look at root cause. If you have high blood pressure in the United States, chances are they're never going to tell you, stop eating salt, exercise more. They're going to give you a pill for your blood pressure and they're going to lower your blood pressure that way. They're never going to address what's the root cause of your high blood pressure. They're not even going to look. And so that's the big problem. These activation problems address the root cause. I like this answer. I like this answer as an answer for what is activation. Activation is stimulating the body's natural health mechanisms at a cellular level. Unlike supplements, the products aim to enhance cellular production, support healthy aging, and improve overall wellness by activating specific genes and pathways. Nutrigenomics, using nutrition to affect the genes in your body. So I like this answer, and I think that for those of you that are on here that are already working with LifeVantage, I think you need to have your canned answer for what is activation. And I think this is a good place to start. If you're just here today to hear about it and hear me talk about why I think this is a paradigm shift in the way that we look at health and wellness, then this is an answer that I think you should think about. You should think about, am I really doing this in my practice? Am I really looking at changing the body and affecting the root cause of problems? So what is the one single, think about this in your mind, what is the one single thing that we can control the root cause of most disease? And I gave you a hint when I was on that wrong slideshow earlier. What one single thing can we control that would change the root cause of most diseases? And that one thing is oxidative stress. And this is the example that I show. If you have a tomato and that tomato sits outside in the heat and in the rain and you're not refrigerating it, that tomato is going to start to rot. And eventually it's just going to be a pile of goo. The same thing happens with our cells. We have the great normal cell on the left-hand side, and then as those cells are attacked by these free radicals and these cells undergo oxidative stress, the cells are going to shrivel up and die. And that's what causes disease. As these cells shrivel up and die, they lead to things like heart disease, and they lead to things like cancer, and they lead to things like autoimmune disease. So what are the stressors that cause oxidative stress? And you can see secondhand smoke and air pollution. But the middle one is the important one. The middle one right now, I feel, is the downfall to the healthcare system around the world. And the problem is the food that we're putting in our bodies is loaded with chemicals. It's all what we refer to as ultra-high processed food. And here's the problem. And this is speaking out to all the healthcare workers that are on this call. Here's the problem is if you have a patient that goes to the grocery store to buy groceries, it is cheaper for them to buy a bag of chips than it is for a pound of grapes. Or it's cheaper to buy a frozen pizza than it is fresh meat and fresh vegetables. So there's the problem. The problem is that our society is not looking at what's healthy anymore. And because of cost constraints, they're eating all the wrong things. So what can this oxidative stress lead to? And I've already talked about it. It leads to heart disease. It leads to dementia and other neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's disease. And it leads to cancer. We're causing our cells to mutate, die early, and then these disease processes start. So how do we control this? And so people will ask me, especially people that I'm just getting involved in LifeVantage with me, they'll say, well, do you guys have anti-aging products? And my answer is always the same. It's like, we don't have an anti-aging product. We have the anti-aging product. And I firmly believe that. I was just talking to somebody on a Facebook group today, and they were talking about peripheral neuropathy. And I said, well, if you understand the mechanism of peripheral neuropathy, it's all regulated by oxidative stress. You need to get the oxidative stress out of your body. You need to get rid of the free radicals. And they were going on about foods they eat and trying to elevate glutathione levels. And I said, I think that's great, but you have to understand that the thing that really that really affects this is something in our body called superoxide dismutase. And we're going to talk about that in the next slide, but that is the master antioxidant. Everything else is compared to superoxide dismutase. So protan of NRF2 elevates superoxide dismutase by 40% in just 30 days. And as I already told you before, when John Quinones did this ABC News primetime event back in 2005, they were trying to shoot down this concept. But what they found is that this concept of activation was really true. And since then, there's been 32 studies done by major universities around the world that have been able to validate the success of NRF2 in downregulating disease processes. If you're practicing medicine today and you are not looking at oxidative stress as a link to all the diseases, I think they should put protan of NRF2 in the drinking water, like everywhere around the world. I think it's that important. I mean, we already understand glutathione is important, and there's a lot of clinics that are using glutathione injections, but this is even stronger than that. As I said, it increases this master antioxidant, this superoxide dismutase, by 40% in 30 days. So what does that compare to? One of the foods that everyone always brings up is organic blueberries. So 1 pint of organic blueberries can neutralize about 7,000 free radicals. 1 molecule of superoxide dismutase can neutralize 1 million free radicals. So think about how many truckloads of blueberries a day you would have to eat instead of taking one little yellow pill every day first thing in the morning. So it's paramount that we talk to our patients about doing this in order to alter the progression of illness in our bodies, to downregulate the problems with oxidative stress that can lead to disease processes. So oxidative stress, and we talked about cancer and heart disease and neurodegenerative disease, but here's the bigger problem. The bigger problem is oxidative stress leading to obesity. Obesity is a problem worldwide. I pulled some statistics off the internet. I know the American statistics because that's where I live. I mean, I guess because I'm with LifeVantage and we have a big worldwide team, I've got to learn all the statistics. So in America, 82% of Americans are overweight. That means that they're all looking to lose 10, 15, 20, 30 pounds. 42% of Americans are obese. That means they are greater than 30% above their ideal weight. That's the definition of obesity. That number's 36% in Australia. It's 36% in the Philippines. It's 46% in Thailand. I know that's the group that we have on this call: Americans, Australians, Filipinos, and the people from Thailand. So obesity is a problem. We're reaching 50%. In the United States, the predictions are by 2030, 29 out of our 50 states will have an obesity rate of over 50%. We have one state in the United States, and for those of you that are from the states, West Virginia has an obesity rate right now of 49.8%. We are almost at a 50% obesity rate in one of our states. That means half of Americans are walking around obese. It is a huge problem. And obesity is completely linked to oxidative stress. And here's why. The more ultra highly processed foods we eat, the more free radicals that are formed. The more free radicals that are formed, the more oxidative stress that we have. The more oxidative stress that we have, the more that we downregulate hormones. And these are the hormones that are responsible for metabolism. These are hormones like thyroid hormone, thyroxine, testosterone, estrogen, human growth hormone, and GLP-1 that's made in the gut and is responsible for converting insulin to bring sugar into the body. It slows digestion, and it's responsible for our entire digestive process of bringing nutrients into the body. So if that gets downregulated, it just causes the obesity to get higher, which causes more free radicals and more oxidative stress. That's the article that was published by the National Institute of Health here in the United States, showing that oxidative stress is a link to metabolic syndrome, which leads to obesity. So it's been widely studied, but we've got to control the oxidative stress, because if we don't, nothing's going to change. We're going to continue to yo-yo diet. You know, I tell people that I've lost the same 50 to 70 pounds probably 10 times in my life. In 8th grade, I weighed 200 pounds. So what is that? 90 kilos. I was 265 pounds when I graduated high school. I was 285 pounds when I graduated college. And then I played a couple years in the American Football League. And then I went to med school. And once I went to med school, I wasn't working out as much. So a lot of that muscle mass turned to fat mass. And I've been battling that problem my entire life. And it's not until now that I realized what the real problem was, because I never looked deep enough. When I joined LifeVantage back in July, I started diving as deep as I could. I went down a lot of rabbit holes and read a lot of articles every day so I could learn what this was all about. And I realized what the root cause of this problem was. And we're going to talk about that. So what is GLP-1? I think if we're going to start talking about GLP-1 products, we're going to talk about the mind-body product. We covered Protandim, but we're going to talk about now the mind-body product, which is an activator. It's an activator of our GLP-1 system. So GLP-1 is glucagon-like peptide 1, and it's a natural hormone in the body, but it regulates blood sugar, appetite, and digestion. It pushes glucose from the digestive tract into the cells. And as glucose goes into the cells, then we make something called ATP, which is important for cellular metabolism and cellular energy. And so, but it also slows our digestive tract, so we're not hungry as often. And the interesting thing about that is we initially thought this was a gut hormone. It's made in the L cells that line the gut, but there's receptors everywhere. There's receptors in the brain. There's receptors in the heart. There's receptors in the kidneys. There is receptors in the pancreas that help push up insulin production. So what does GLP-1 do? And what does GLP-1 do when it's normal? Here's the problem. It's not normal in most people around the world, especially anyone that has a weight problem. Because once we become obese, we downregulate our GLP-1 levels. So instead of it working at 90 or 100 or 110%, it's now working at 20 or 30%. And it goes down from obesity. It goes down when we eat when we're not hungry, when we eat because we're happy, or we eat because we're sad, or we eat because we're stressed. Every time we do that, we are pushing our GLP-1 levels down. So if we can build our GLP-1 levels up, then we can have more insulin. More insulin's going to push more glucose into our cells. We're going to have more energy. It's going to slow digestion. So we're going to feel we're going to feel less hungry. We're going to feel like our stomachs are full longer. And so that's going to prevent us from overeating and prevent us from binge eating when we're happy or sad or excited. It suppresses our appetite at the brain level, not just at the gut level. And this is where the new science is looking at. It works in the pleasure center of the brain. The pleasure center of the brain is what makes us happy when we have a really good meal, or we're sitting down having a meal with our family and we get that happy feeling. Well, that's the pleasure center. And what they're finding is if you take a GLP-1 drug, and we're going to talk about big pharma and the GLP-1 drugs as well, if you take that, it's going to affect that pleasure center. And this is where the research is coming from. It's coming from big pharma, that it's also able to downregulate the pleasure center when it comes to illegal drugs or alcohol or nicotine, that they're finding that people that are taking the GLP-1 products, including ours, have a downregulate even towards other addictions. But there's also GLP-1 receptors in the heart. So it's protective to the heart. It's protective to the kidneys, and it's protective to the brain. So a ton of benefits other than just the one that we all like to talk about, which is weight loss. So what is the mind-body system? The mind-body system, as I've been saying all along, take it to make it. It's the take it to make GLP-1. It's the tiny little building blocks that the body needs to increase our GLP-1 levels. Like I said, everything in our life right now is trying to down-regulate these GLP-1 levels. The GLP-1 levels get down-regulated by being overweight. They get down-regulated when we eat for reasons other than being hungry. They get down-regulated when our hormones are down-regulated by oxidative stress. So if we're having a low level of GLP-1, we need to bring these levels up to normal so we can take back our control with food. Get away from that toxic cycle of emotional eating and that toxic cycle of yo-yo dieting. I can tell you that I've taken off 50 or 60 pounds and it's all come right back on throughout my life. Once you get off the diet, it kicks back in. You start eating the wrong foods again and everything comes back and you put that weight back on. The same thing is happening with the big pharma drugs. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this crushes your cravings. There's less impulse. There's a better balance and there's better weight loss. When the study was first released, so I know there's a lot of people on this call that were in Kansas City back in the second week in October when Vantage had the announcement and the release of this mind-body GLP-1 system. And they put this exact slide up on the screens in the auditorium. And there was a 12-week human clinical study. And the 12-week human clinical study, I'm going to go over all of these pretty specifically one at a time. So the average increase in GLP-1 levels was up to 140% in 12 weeks. And we know that most of these people in the study started with them depressed because they were already gaining weight. They were already in that overweight obesity category. So it pushed them from those low levels, maybe 20, 30, 40% levels of GLP-1 up to 140%. There were people in the study that were up over 300% in their GLP-1 levels. The next is important. The next is important because the average weight loss in 8 weeks was only about 9 pounds. So what does that mean? It means exactly what I was just talking about. The levels were low. We have to build those levels up. But here's the thing. At 8 weeks, from 8 weeks to 12 weeks, people were taking off now another 14, 15 pounds. So once those levels got up to 100, 120, 140% or higher, now the weight started coming off because our body was working at peak performance. Next one, also important, 100% of the people in the study did not lose muscle. If you look at the big pharma studies with the injectable GLP-1s that are available all over the world now, the average muscle loss is between 18 and 27%. So think about what that means. That means if you lose 80 pounds of weight, you've also lost 20 pounds of muscle. Yeah, 60 pounds were fat, but 20 pounds were muscle. So that means you're lighter, but you're less healthy and you're weaker. So is that a good thing? I don't think so. So nobody in this study lost muscle mass. 20%, 27% reduction in visceral fat. So what is visceral fat? Visceral fat is the fat that can kill you, not just because you get overweight and you get heart disease, but it's the fat that surrounds our organs. It's the fat that's not outside of our bellies. It's not the fat that you can pinch an inch. It's the fat that's inside, that's around our colon, it's around our stomach, it's around our kidneys, it's around our heart, it's around our liver. So these are the bad fats that lead to disease. It increases our risk for heart disease. When Big Pharma came out with the GLP-1 drugs, they were intended to fight diabetes. They were not weight loss drugs. They found that the side effect were people were losing weight. But what they also found is that the risk of heart disease in these diabetic patients went down considerably. So they knew that it was taking care of this visceral fat. And they've done studies on it with Big Pharma. However, the average loss of visceral fat in the Big Pharma drugs is only 8 to 15%, which means we have better numbers with the mind-body product than we do with the with the big pharma products. And then they did a survey. They did a survey at the end, and they answered, I think it was 20 questions. And the two that jump out to me most is an 82% 82% of the people in the study took back their control with their relationship with food. They felt that they were able to control their diet much better on the MindBody product. And then the last one, it was important to me. The last one was 95% reduction in sugar cravings. I am admittedly a Oreo junkie. I love Oreo cookies. And our son has a dairy allergy. So Oreos are one of the few cookies that do not have dairy. Even the fluffy cream in the middle, there's no dairy. So we always have Oreos in our house. And I swear that I would walk past my pantry and my pantry would actually call to me, like, come in and get Oreos. So 3 or 4 times a day, I would take 2 Oreos. So I'm eating 6 to 8 Oreos a day for years. And since October, when I started the MindBody product, I have not had an Oreo. We have Oreos in our pantry. They're still there. Our son still eats them. I have not had one Oreo. It definitely decreases our cravings for sugar. There's the proof. That is my 18-week picture. I am now at 24 weeks. I posted a new picture on Facebook today. I'm down 55 pounds as of this morning at right around 23 or 24 weeks. So that's that. That's my picture. The picture on the right-hand side of the screen is a lady that's on our team. What I like to point out is the loss of the rolls underneath her bra on the front to back picture, and then on her back, the rolls that are under her bra, what we like to refer to as back fat. And her back fat's gone. You cannot suck in back fat. No matter how hard you try, there's nothing that she could do to try to suck in those rolls. So it works. The MindBody GLP-1, there's no doubt in my mind that it is working. You can go on the Activated Weight Loss group on Facebook, and you can see all the people that are posting pictures and commenting about their testimonials. So what are the trends? The trends are the fact that, as I said, nearly half of Americans are going to be obese by 2030. The number one selling drug in the United States in 2023 was semaglutide, which is the prescription drug Ozempic. And then right now, the industry is about an almost $40 billion industry for GLP-1. Predicted to be by 2031 between 138 and $200 billion. It's going to continue to grow. This is a place that we definitely want to jump in and be part of this weight loss journey. But here's the thing is I don't know if I have a slide on, I don't think I do. The National Institute of Health in the United States just came out with a study that shows that once you stop the prescription GLP-1s, within that first year after stopping them, 90% of the people on the drugs gained 66% of their weight back. That's 2/3. So if you lost 90 pounds in that first year of coming off the drugs, the weight gain is 60 pounds back on. So are these drugs really changing the yo-yo dieting system? They're not. All they're doing is now allowing big pharma to make money off of everyone that yo-yo diets. We need to change the paradigm. Here's how we change the paradigm. We need to change the paradigm by giving people the building blocks to bring their own GLP-1 levels up. Because once we bring the GLP-1 levels up, then the body starts functioning normal and we can keep the weight off. With the GLP-1 drugs, we give ourselves the shot. I've done the Ozempic products about 2 years ago. I lost 80 pounds. I put 60 of it back on. It's real. And you put on probably 15 to 20 pounds in the first 8 weeks because what your body's used to is getting this shot every week. The shot lowers our levels to 0. The body's now depending on the shot, not depending on the body making the hormone. Once the shot goes away, the levels are 0. So now it takes time to build that level back up. It's important for people that are on the drugs and want to convert over to the mind body, because it takes that first 6 to 8 weeks to get the levels up so everything can kick back in. I want to talk about just a couple more take it to make it products. I don't want to, if I went in depth on all of them as I have with Protandim and with the Mind Body, we would be here till tomorrow morning. But liquid collagen, the same way, take it to make it, can increase collagen levels by 100% in just 8 weeks. Now, when we think about collagen, the first thing we want to think about are all the beauty stuff, fine lines and wrinkles. That wasn't the big thing that I noticed in me. Like I said, I played American football. So what I noticed was knee pain. I've had knee pain for probably 25 years. If you're 300 pounds and 300 pounds for a long time, you're going to get knee pain. So I've had knee pain for 20, 25 years. What I noticed with the liquid collagen and with my weight loss is my knee pain is gone. First time I can say that in a long time. There's also the lady, though, on the left-hand side of the screen. You see the wrinkles around her eyes. They're gone with liquid collagen. And if you take the liquid collagen and the Protandim together, they work synergistically. I didn't put a slide in here, but the NAD product, if you know anything about NAD, NAD is what causes stem cells to get mobilized from our peripheral circulation and go to areas where there's damage. So it brings stem cells to damaged areas and causes healing. Well, we have an NAD product that is a take it to make it product. It increases our NAD levels that can go to our bone marrow and tell the stem cells to get working. Another take it to make it product. I have a long email dissertation on NAD. So if you want that, get a hold of Josie, or if you can get a hold of me, I'll be more than happy to email that to you. But I go into a deep dive on why NAD is so important. The wellness industry is growing. It's about a $1.5 trillion industry worldwide. It is time that if you're not doing wellness in your practice, people are starting to notice. I have followers on my Instagram. My Instagram talks about Dr. Jeff, the doctor that hates doctors. I hate the way our healthcare system goes. The average doctor spends about 6 minutes with a patient when they come in for a visit, and it's all based on what they need to do for money. In the United States, if they do a 1-hour long consultation, doctor gets paid by the Medicare system about $220. But if he sees 10 6-minute visits, he makes about $450. So he has double income by seeing 10 patients for 6 minutes than he does for one patient for 60 minutes. That's a problem. And so that's why I think as a group, and I see that there's 75 people on this call tonight, I'm just calling out to the healthcare providers. We need to change this. We need to change this 1 or 2 doctors at a time. You know, as I said, I've been able to put in 120 doctors on my team. I'm trying to change. If I can put in 2 or 3 doctors a week, that's another 150 by next year at this time. If we can really change the paradigm and focus on wellness and focus on root cause, then we can really change healthcare in the world. I was going to say in America, but with this call, we can change healthcare in the world. That's all I have. You know, as I said, I've been doing this now not quite a year. I'm excited about it, if you can't tell by the way I'm talking. I know that Josie has some questions for me, and I would love to entertain whatever Josie wants me to bring to the table.
Okay, so Dr. Jeff, maybe you can remove your...
Take mine off?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry, let me just add you to the
Go.
pin. Okay,
we
so
are.
we have questions. Let me just add Dr. Jeff. All right, so that was an amazing information, Dr. Jeff, and I know that people have got a lot of questions. So let me go ahead and ask some of the questions that I've been asked. So Dr. Jeff, okay, if someone is on sertraline, can they take Mind Body?
Yeah, so great question. And I think that drug could have been any drug that we want to mention. These are food products. I mean, there are things like honeysuckle and yerba mate and matcha. They are all food-based products. So if you can eat on the drug that you're taking, if you can have a normal diet, nothing's supposed to be restricted from your diet, then yeah, you can take all of these products. There's no reason that you can't take these products.
Okay, perfect. And how do the products affect liver?
They do. Well, yes and no. I mean, they affect the products as they can help your liver, because remember, the mind-body products are liver protective. A matter of fact, there's some really interesting studies that are going on now with a disease that's called NASH, which is a fatty liver disease, and that the long term can lead to cirrhosis and liver failure and liver transplant. And they're actually using mind-body, the injectable big pharma mind-body drugs, to help treat NASH and to slow that product. So it's actually helpful for the liver. We know that the liver is also attacked a lot by the free radical system, a lot of problems with oxidative stress in the liver. So that would be another great product to take if you're concerned about liver disease.
Okay. So I've got a question from Savannah. So she said, so unlike the prescription drugs, do you need to be on the MB products long term? I have always, she's got patients who are wanting to know what are the long-term plan if you're on the mind-body system.
Yeah, so, and you know, that's a great question. And I'm glad that somebody asked that question. And that's a question that I'm starting to get more and more now on a daily basis. Not so much with my own patients and not even so much with, you know, as I said, I help consult and mentor about 100 clinics. We're not even getting it with that, but we're getting it with the people that were in that original study. We called it Club 55, that started the product back in July, because some of those people now are hitting their weight loss goals. You know, they set out, they wanted to lose 50 pounds or they wanted to lose 60 pounds, and they're there. And the question I'm getting is, well, what do I do now? And so I think the answer is twofold. I think that if you can afford to stay on the products, there's so many other benefits that I would say stay on it. And I would do a half dose. I think if you reach your weight loss goal, I think if you went to one pill, and I'm going to use the American formula, 1 pill a day and 2 scoops of the powder, and stay on that long term, if you can afford to do that, would be American dollars, it'd be about $75, $80 a month. I think if not, I think that as long as you're eating a better diet and you're not doing the things that you could do to push down your natural levels, you're not emotionally eating, you're not eating a lot of ultra high processed foods, I think you could continue on at a healthy weight for a long time. But I think then you just have to self-monitor. And if you notice yourself falling into those bad habits again, then go back on the product for a couple months and get yourself reset and then come off of them. I think with the injectables, the big problem is it's not addressing anything. It is another crutch to yo-yo diet. The National Institute of Health has proven that the average weight gain is 66% in the first year after coming off the drugs. So all people are going to be doing is they're going to be taking it for a year, losing 80 pounds, putting 60 back on, taking it for a year, losing more weight, and just continuing this cycle, which isn't healthy. The yo-yo dieting problem is probably as bad for you as keeping the weight on. So to answer the question, I think that if you just you really have to change your lifestyle. And I think the mind-body product helps you do that. But if you need a little crutch, stay on a half dose forever, as long as you can afford it. I'm going to stay on for the rest of my life, hopefully another 30, 40 years.
Okay, a good question here. Is this contraindicated for patients taking thyroid medication or patients with thyroid problems?
Yeah, so it's not. If you look at the studies that were done specifically on the semaglutide product, so Ozempic, Rybelsus, Wegovy, there is a warning, at least in the United States, that you have to be careful with a certain type. If you have a family history of a certain type of thyroid cancer. However, even looking at those studies didn't weren't weren't able to really prove that there is a link between the two. Because this is a food-based product, I don't think there's any problem taking it with any type of thyroid disease. However, I do want to say this: if you have thyroid disease, you absolutely should be on Protandim, because the studies show that thyroxine, which is the non-active form of thyroid hormone, is downregulated. The production is downregulated by oxidative stress. So if you have thyroid disease, you may be surprised that if you go on Protandim, you may not need you may be able to cut your thyroid hormone down at some time in the future once your oxidative stress is under control.
Right. Okay, so Dr. Jeff, I'm asking a question for doctors and healthcare professionals. You have a thriving clinic. So first is, do you promote, or how do you promote the products in your clinic to your patients? And what would you say to doctors who are thinking of promoting this to their patients or the health practitioners?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we promote it in our clinic, as well as all the doctors that are working on my team are promoting it as well. I think that, when and my clinic's a little bit different because the patients, we don't take insurance. So our patients are paying cash. Because of that, we're able to sit down and really talk with them for a longer period of time. Their visits aren't 6 minutes. But if they have an issue that we think will respond to these types of treatments, activation, or even supplementation for some other problems, we discuss it, and our patients are well motivated for the most part to get better. So if somebody comes in with heart disease, we talk to them about why being on an antioxidant is important. Or if somebody's coming in for some type of regenerative problem with like knee pain and things like that, we talk about liquid collagen and NAD to help bring stem cells to that area and help heal that. So we really look at the body overall and see where these products can come in. I think there's some doctors out there that are worried that, if they're promoting things other than big pharma, it kind of goes against what they learned in medical school. But the problem is that we're learning the wrong stuff. We're not learning root cause. We're learning how to treat symptoms. And I think that our medical training is backwards. I don't think we're looking at what we really should be doing for patients. And if we look at what we really think we should be doing for health, then suggesting this is probably the first line. So if we see somebody that has a disease process that we think can be treated with activation, maybe they still need a big pharma drug, but if we can do both at the same time and get them overall more healthy, I think we're doing them a better service in the long run.
Amazing. Well,
we have little cards. So this is just a suggestion for any doctor that decides they want to do this. We have little cards made up about the size of like the little flyers that all the drug companies put out. Their new depression drug or new heart disease drug or a new arthritis drug comes out, and the drug companies put these little pamphlets out in the waiting room. We have those same pamphlets made up for all of these products, and it has a little QR code in the back that they can scan. It takes you to to your own website, and they can buy the products. And our front desk knows. So, I am sitting there in our exam room and can just take one and hand it to them and say, "This is what you really need to be on. Talk to Lisa at the front desk, and she can help you get signed up to have it shipped to the house once a month." And that's how I think it's the easiest way to incorporate it into your practice.
Sounds amazing. So, Dr. Jeff, I know that some people are probably thinking, okay, we have a board-certified orthopedic surgeon, super successful, get a clinic and all that. So what made you open to the industry of network marketing? Because
so I started with a company back in 2008, and a friend of mine asked me to come to a presentation. And this is before the internet was a thing. And so it was live. It was in a back room of a restaurant, and it was an antioxidant drink. And reluctantly, the doctor was a friend of mine. And so I signed up reluctantly, and then I started taking it and really realized that it worked. And because it worked, I started offering it to my patients. And here's, I think there's two reasons that I'm doing it, and why I would, I gave up my orthopedic surgery practice in 2009 when I realized that the American healthcare system was really taking money out of the doctor's hands. And when I realized that it wasn't something that I was going to be able to continue with, providing good healthcare and spending time with my patients, because the reimbursement from insurance was so bad. So I realized I had to do something different. So I switched gears and did a more health, wellness, regenerative approach instead of a surgical approach. So it transitioned in nicely, having supplements and now activators, to help those patients. And I think the other thing that, I think every doctor, every healthcare professional that's on this call understands that if we follow the insurance company's guidelines, the amount of money that's in our pocket goes away. And this is a way that we can easily supplement that income easily, especially in your practice. And then if you talk to other doctors about it, some of that money comes to you as well. And so I think financially, it gives you that extra mailbox money. It gives you that money, that check that comes in on the 15th of every month that just ends up in your bank account without doing a whole lot of work other than just talking to your patients. And I think overall that your patients are happier and they're treated better, and overall your patients are healthier.
Wow. Well, Dr. Jeff, you've given us great information. You've inspired us, and I really hope those doctors who are listening to this webinar and the recording would be more open to taking a look at our activation company. So we're grateful to you, Dr. Jeff, and to all of those who have watched this webinar. You can request for the recording, but we just need to do a little bit of editing from at the beginning of the webinar. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being on the call.